All right, guys. It's been the longest night and dawn ever. Finally, we've gotten to the day of the dead. And I'm just so happy to be able to watch this right now. I've been waiting for a while. And this is, as I said, my favorite of the original trilogy. The whole two trilogies. This is my favorite film in Romero's Dead universe here. And I know a lot of people don't care for it compared to Dawn and Night. Romero thinks this is thought this was his best film in the original trilogy. At least I never heard him come out and say he liked one of the later ones better. But this had a lot of issues, like when they were trying to get this made. He had final cut on this movie, but the budget he wanted was like double what they ended up getting. It was like 7 million is what he wanted for the budget, and they had to cut it in half to like 3.5. This was supposed to be a lot bigger, like grander scope of a movie. I would have loved to seen that. I know he used some of those ideas in Land of the Dead, but I just love this movie how it is. And Savini and Nicotero and Kurtzman. I don't know if Kurtzman worked on this. I know two of K and B did, Berger and Nicotero. I'm sure Kurtzman was there too because they all three of them worked with the same company and stuff. They worked on all those movies that they have. So I'm pretty sure it was all three of them, maybe. But I know Nicotero and Berger for sure. But I think this is Savini's like magnum opus of effects work. Like it just looks so good in this. Everything. Like I was saying with Dawn, the thing that really takes me out of it a little bit, and it's weird because I love Italian horror and you see it everywhere there, but the blood in Dawn of the Dead has that Italian fake blood. Like that just bright red that it looks so off in an American horror movie. And of course, it was Argento was, had the Italian cut of it and everything. So it makes sense why that blood was used. It just doesn't do it for me. Like it looks so much better in this movie. All the effects look so much better in this, and at this point, like we don't know how. Like they're kind of all three of the movies. I don't think there's a link between them. There's like little homages and stuff, like the helicopter pilot here. They keep calling Flyboy, just like the guy from Dawn of the Dead. But by this in this movie, the zombie outbreak was pretty much taking over the whole world, and they're in the bunker in Florida with the scientists. And Rhodes is such a dick in this movie. He plays it so well, though. Pilato. He does such a good job playing this just complete despicable human being, and I think that's what makes it even better when we finally get that amazing death scene with him. That is just so satisfying. Seeing this guy being literally ripped in half and then just eaten by so many zombies. So good. Let's watch Day of the Dead. Finally. Yeah, I got like a minute in. The score in this movie is so goddamn good. It's so good. And just the hell, when the dream in the beginning with Sarah, and she's in the room, and the calendar's in front of her, and it's the only thing, like, anywhere. It's just four walls, her, and the calendar. And just the music just starts. It's so awesome. And then the hands all reach out, and she wakes up in the helicopter, and her and Flyboy and the other dude, I don't remember his name. Just the whole opening of this, how they're showing, it's so effective. It's showing just how gone the world is. That how every system of communication in society is just completely broken down. And all the shots of just nothing in the streets and just stuff blowing around. It makes it feel so authentic that this is just been going on for so long now that there's just like no one left. It's really done amazingly. And it makes it even cooler that the Gorillas, if anyone remembers that band, like the animated cartoon band that had a song Clint Eastwood and there's so many songs. I saw them live in 2010 or so. What an amazing show, actually. By the way, like they have like a whole thing that comes down projector, and you're just watching the cartoon band like on the screen the whole time with an actual band behind it. Such an awesome concert. It was at Madison Square Garden, but they have a song on their first album called M1A1, and it starts with the whole music here at the beginning. With the hello, is anyone there? It's so great. Like, this is such iconic music here, the score at the beginning of this. And just the palm trees and the newspapers rolling around that say the dead walk. And I love this whole movie. And like I was saying in Night of the Living Dead, that they look like pretty much human beings, the zombies there. And I mean, obviously, I don't know if that was his whole intention, or if they just didn't have, that good of special effects work to make them look like zombies that we know today. But then in Dawn of the Dead, I just don't like that blue-gray look on their face, like the makeup on them. Like, we see that here at the beginning, too. But just the first zombie that you see here, that just comes in his mouth, the bottom of his mouth is missing, and he's moving around, and then just Day of the Dead comes up. And then we start seeing all the other zombies walking around. And like I said, some of them have that stupid, like, bluish-gray makeup still. But it's nowhere near as noticeable for me than in the entirety of Dawn of the Dead. Then we just see the streets swarming with all these zombies. Like, they really do just nail just how empty the world is, and how this is just so much on a big, grander scope of just destruction and stuff. And just humanity is screwed completely in this. In Night, it's very contained. It feels like it's just happening on that farmhouse. You hear on the TV and stuff and on the radio that it's taking place all over the place, but it like just started in Night of the Living Dead. In Dawn, it's going on for a little longer, but there's still like people all about. Like, we see Savini and the biker gang, so they're still driving around and stuff, and they just made it to the mall. Here, it's just like there's almost no one left. And they do such a good job of painting that picture. And, just the effects in this movie I'm going to talk about so much, because these are just some of the greatest practical effects for me in a movie. Like I always say, The Thing is my favorite movie of all time. And obviously nowhere near the only reason, but just the practical effects in that movie, I feel state of the art and have never been topped since. This is like up there. Like, this is like me in for sure the top 5 for me. Practical effects in a horror movie. Probably higher than that. Like in the top 3. 3, 2, probably 3. I'd have to rack my brain on it. But Savini and Nicotero and Berger and all of their work here. And I've heard people say that when I say, like, I think this is Savini's best work, yeah, he had a lot of help compared to, like, earlier films, like Friday the 13th and The Prowler and The Burning and all of those. But look how much effects work has to go into this. Like, sure, the earlier ones, Maniac and all that, he could do that by himself and with, like, a few extra hands helping him. To do all the effects work on all the zombies here and then all the kill scenes and stuff, he needed this much help. So I've heard it before saying, like, yeah, it's great Savini work, but like it wasn't all him doing it. Oh, I know, because the movie would never have been finished. Like, it would have taken Savini just himself and a few 2-3 hands helping him. The movie would have never been finished on time, ever. Like, so he needed K&B and whoever else was helping to do all the zombie work itself, like, and all the makeup on all of them. Like, just that alone is so much more work than just like the cool little kill scenes that we get in all of his movies before this that he's done the effects for. And yeah, Dawn of the Dead, same thing. He had Nicotero there too, K&B there too. But again, just much bigger scope in this than either of the previous movies. I don't want to be wrong with his accent. Sounds Jamaican. I hope he is, because if not, I have no idea. But I love his accent here, and he's the smartest person in this movie. Like, as soon as they touch down with the helicopter, and they notice that Major Cooper and stuff just died that morning, and him just saying, like, this is a terrible idea, and that there are thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of these things out there, and they will just kill us all, and we should just take off, go to an island somewhere, and just get juiced up and just enjoy whatever time we have left in the sun. That's my type of guy right there. If they would have listened to him right here, they probably could have just had a great old party until the zombies learn to swim or whatever and get to this whatever island they go to at the end, which it's kind of cool how it's kind of like implying or like at least an homage to Fulci Zombie. That like the island at the end here is pretty much like just landing on the island from Zombie and had all those events take place. It's something I don't think anyone that's not a Fulci fan or has never seen Zombie, no one's going to get that reference. Like, no one is going to get that unless they have seen Lucio Fulci's Zombie, which in '85 when this came out, I don't know how many people, in America knew about Zombie from Fulci. I'm sure there were people, obviously, but like huge horror fans and stuff that would check out movies from all over the world, but harder, much harder back then, obviously, to get those movies than today. So I don't know how many people that saw this in theaters got that little reference at the end, that like the little homage to that this is the island, quite possibly from Fulci's Zombie movie. It's so cool. Like, it's just that little homage there just makes it so much better at the end for me. It's like, you can just put this in your head canon of like, all right, they flew to this island and the events of Zombie, even though the movie came out before this, that's when that event happened in that movie. Or that they landed on the same island there as in Zombie after all the stuff in Zombie happened, and it's just still the same island. Like, you can put that in your head and have it in your head canon any way really that you want. But just the fact that it's there makes just so much a little bit more for me when it's already amazing, this movie. And as I usually say, I don't like, not that I don't like, I just don't really pay attention to like social commentary in movies. I'm aware it's there and what they're saying. I just don't look for that in movies. I watch horror movies to escape and to just have fun. But you can't really mention like a Romero film without touching on it a little bit. But just the whole lack of communication between the scientists here and the soldiers. It's like they could have worked together here. And there's just so much divide that it screws everything up more. Like, they could have worked together in any way, shape, or form to try to come up with a solution that helps everybody. And just through stubbornness and lack of communication and all of that, and just having a psychopath like Rhodes as being like the leader of all this, it just screws everything up in such a massive way. But it's great. Like, it is great commentary like that. It's like, this is 99% of the time what would happen. It says a lot about humanity. Oh, I'm just going to be gushing about this whole movie. And I get it. I get why people don't put this as high up as Dawn and Night. There's a lot of downtime here. Like, there's a lot of just conversation and arguing between the scientists and the soldiers and everything. I understand that 100%. But man, when like there is stuff going on, it's so tense. And like with the beginning here when they're corralling the zombies, and Steele is such a prick too. Like, he does such a great job too, that actor, playing just like this second in command to the Rhodes. And they're trying to get the one or two zombies, like calling them, like ringing a dinner bell pretty much, and then just like hooking them around the head and the neck and just bringing one or two through. And Rickles almost gets killed, and just the way that Steele responds to that and takes the guy and he's just holding him over, like right within reach of a zombie pretty much, and screaming at him like, you almost killed Rickles, you son of a bitch, and just going off on him with the music just, it's so good. Like, I get it why people don't put this as high as it should be. For me, at least, it should be. But it works for me just 100%. Also, as big of assholes most of these soldiers are, like Steele and Rhodes and stuff, it's still in the realm of believability. Like, it makes sense that they would be this crazy. Like, just look at the what's going on. Like, what happened to the whole world, basically. And they've been trapped down in this bunker. I don't even think they mention how long, but if they do, I forget. But it seems like a very long time. So who wouldn't just snap after a while, right? Like, I understand completely why Rhodes is the way he is. I understand absolutely why Steele is the way he is. They're snapping, like they're losing their minds down here. Like, how long can you keep people in a bunker underground doing the same shit every day? It's kind of like The Thing when they're in the compound and stuff. Those they're losing their minds too, and yeah, I think that's awesome here. I think that's so well portrayed. Yeah, they are assholes, without a doubt, especially Rhodes. But it still makes sense why. Like, we don't see the events before this to see if Rhodes was always like this. If he was always just a complete dick douchebag, we don't get to see that. So we can only assume we can only take what we're giving in the film here. And just from what we see here, it makes complete sense. Like, I would not be shocked if I was in this situation and there was someone just like Rhodes and just like Steele, even if they weren't like that before. Like, just from all of this happening and the world being pretty much gone, who knows, maybe I'd be a Rhodes in that situation after a certain amount of time, because you could just see them snapping. They're taking the zombies and putting the two in the scientist lab, and they're just cursing them out so much, and then they just go and the other guy just puts the finger on the door. It's like, there's no need for that. But at that point, it's like, not only have they killed people that they know and were friends with or anything like that, but they destroyed the whole world. So of course, like, it's I'm not saying it's warranted how they treat everyone else in this movie. Of course not. But can you see it any other way? Can you see people just, like, down in this bunker for a year and just still, like, everything is hunky-dory and flowers and pink unicorns and, like, no. Like, there's 100% going to be people like this, even if they were the nicest people in the world before this, because everyone has a breaking point. And I'm pretty sure zombie apocalypse ranks pretty high on, most people's breaking point. So it's so well done, and I really wish I could have seen, like, that we all could have got, like, his full vision, Romero's full vision for the much bigger movie he wanted to make than he ended up being able to. But just with half the budget and what he had to rewrite and to make this work, it still is so effective. And right here just further cements my point. I forgot his name earlier, Miguel, the lover of Sarah's here. They have love for each other. They have this relationship here. But she wants to dope him up, sedate him because of how crazy and dangerous he's acting. And he's just cracking down. He just smacks her in the face, like, twice. But then, like, just immediately, like, is guilty as hell and just grabs her, like, close and stuff. And then she throws him on the bed. Like, these people are terrified. These people have been through so much. And then he just breaks down crying on the bed. So it's just, I don't want to keep going on just, like, how great they handle this here. But, God, it's so great how much they handle this here. Honestly, like, as it keeps going on, and I'm, like, I've seen this movie a lot. But for some reason with Romero films, and I think I mentioned this in Night, especially, I know I did in Night of the Living Dead. Maybe probably Dawn too. For some reason, I just don't remember, like, fully these movies. Like, they don't stay, like, word for word, scene for scene in my head all the time. But as I keep seeing it again here, that might be why this is my favorite. Like, besides the amazing effects work and all that, this feels the most real. Like, the most realistic situation of what would happen in a zombie outbreak, a zombie apocalypse like this. Like, everything with her going and saying that, Miguel's losing his mind and like we need to pull him off active duty, and Rhodes just kills it too. Like Pilato kills it in this role here. Like absolutely. Like he does such a good job. The first scene here that we get introduced to him, and like Major Cooper was telling him how to deal with the scientists, and he just comes. Major Cooper's dead. Like I'm in command now, and like you better start showing results and all. Just all of this just seems like the most realistic portrayal of what would happen in a situation like this. And I think that's another reason why this is my favorite. It's just so well handled, and then Bub, and just, oh god, Dawn of the Dead has nothing on Day of the Dead for me. Like it really doesn't. It's such a great movie, but it has nothing on this film for me. And this whole scene here with Dr. Frankenstein, like what they call him, Frankenstein. I don't know how many people say Frankenstein or Frankenstein. I don't care, Frankenstein. Just him, how like excited he is researching on these zombies, but it's not like a good excitement. It's like this guy is way too excited. We need to get him help also, otherwise this guy's gonna snap. Like it's like almost like it looks like he's had like 18 cups of coffee just that morning. That's what it seems like. And he starts telling Sarah and stuff like they don't need their internal organs. Like there's nothing, there's no stomach, there's nothing. But yeah, and he's putting his hand right by his mouth and letting him bite him. Like almost bite him. He's like still like, see, he has no stomach, but he's still there working on just deep instinct. Like just primal instinct. And even though they have no nourishment to take from what they eat or anything, like they still just have this just deep ingrained primal need to eat and feed. And just he's covered in blood all over the place. And then just the effects look amazing too here. When the zombie was missing most of his face, and you can see the brain, and then like he has like electrodes like or some shit to like control it and like send electrical signals. Oh, the effects look so good just here. And it just goes up and up and up, like, as we go along. All of this, like I'm telling you, like, this is, like, one of those handful of movies I just think is perfect. Like, it really is for me. Like, and there's the rest of this whole scene with just the argument between the scientist and Sarah. Like, with her just saying that, like, if everyone just worked together here, which is an unlikely a situation as ever, they could have gotten all of their objectives and just been like, all right, we're going to protect this place as much as possible. All right, Sarah wants to find a cure or find some way to fix this. All right, you guys go and try to do that. And then you scientists do here. And everyone could have got what they wanted, but no one can talk to each other. And just the way that he took Major Cooper's body to use as the zombie, as a specimen, and then we see like the one I was saying, that's Major Cooper with the fucking face missing, and just how it's like bulging out and stuff. Then the zombie who's laying on the table, and when he just turns over and his guts spill out of that, looks so good. That is such a great effect. And I remember Savini like in an interview saying how they did it. Like there was like the table that he's on like was like curved in, so then like the actor's like body was sunken in and it's all fake on top of it, and you could figure that out easily, all the effects here. But just the way it looks and the way it's shot, and it looks so amazing. Like, and you could see, and then he just comes in, the scientist just takes the thing and drills the zombie right in the head, like like he's seen this a million times, and he probably has. Sarah's just sickened by just seeing the guts hit the floor. And he's just so nonchalant, Frankenstein. He just walks up and like, all right, another one, time to stick him in the head. Oh, I love it. And then we see Bub for the first time, and who doesn't love Bub? I mean, come on. Is there anyone who's ever spoken the words, I don't like Bub, from Day of the Dead? I'd love to hear them. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, like I always say, but I've never heard anyone say they don't like Bub, the zombie, from this movie, like, ever. It's almost like the tar zombie from Return of the Living Dead, which honestly I've never been big into the Return of the Living Dead movies. Like, never have. I think I've seen the first two, That's it. Just doesn't do it for me. These movies, like Romero's movies, are so much better for me. And I know there are different zombies in that. It's like a chemical spill or something like that versus like a traditional zombie outbreak, which is only traditional in the sense that Romero pretty much invented it, like with Night of the Living Dead. Maybe that's why it works better for me. I don't know. But it just does. And I never got big into Return of the Living Dead. I might do them this month, with the whole zombie theme and stuff, just to revisit them. Because I know, Echo, I know you fucking love Return of the Living Dead. So I might go through at least like the first three. Because I know I've never seen the third one. And I hear that one a lot as people's favorites. So maybe I'll go into the Return of the Living Dead movies at some point in this month. But I'm so happy I'm watching Day of the Dead right now after a crazy week. I'll put it like that. Speaking of coffee with Frankenstein, I need to go make some coffee quick. And tune in Sundays. Well, if you're up at 4 a.m., like some people who should not be, it's 9 a.m. for the UK. Me and Gareth, the Video Tasties, are doing a little horror news from across the pond with a cup of coffee. And talking about horror news, Sundays at 4 a.m. Eastern Standard, 9 a.m. if you live in British world over there. And then just the whole idea of being able to like control these things, to condition these zombies, to like domesticate them basically. It's another great theme. This is why I need coffee. I can't fucking talk. I was feeling it at the beginning of this. I was like, yeah, I'm stumbling over words a lot. Like, I need to wake up a little more. So, this is like my third cup of coffee. But just that whole scene after that with them all arguing here and having the drunk who's like trying to get radio waves out there and try to find other people, and he's a complete alcoholic, and like they're saying like you got to lay off the booze. And again, like the same way that we could see these people being complete assholes the way they are from this situation, you know you're going to have one or two people at least that are going to be just completely wasted all the time, because that's what a great way to deal with it. I mean, there's really no consequence then, like, to be an alcoholic. Besides, like, you're killing yourself slowly. But chances are you're going to be killed anyway, or you're just going to waste away down there. And just his whole little speech to that drunken dude, I love it. And how he's just saying, like, I know the situation. Like, you don't think I know what's going on here? He's like, I know. He said, and I love the little homage to Dawn of the Dead when he says all the shopping malls are closed. And then Steele gets on his ass about that. But he's like if I would just find a signal, I would just be looking for it just to get away from you, Steele. He's like, until then, I'm just going to keep indulging because there might not be any alcohol left by the time they get a signal. And then just his like last words there. He's like, either we, in fact, like we are the only ones left, or no one's within range to like reach their signal. Like that whole thing. And then Sarah's just like, I'm not listening to this. Like, this is petty kindergarten stuff. Then Rhodes just comes in, and now he's about to be a complete dickhead. Like I said earlier, I understand why people would think that this movie is not eventful as much as the other two. But just the way that it's handled, just the arguments and everything, it's so authentic feeling that it works for me 100%. And I know many people who do love Day of the Dead as their best out of Romero's films. Like, at least his zombie films. But it's actually a very cool trilogy that way, because it's pretty damn evenly split between people who their favorite's Night of the Living Dead, those who have Dawn as their favorite, and then those who love Day. Like, you don't see many trilogies or three sequences of movies that is that evenly distributed. I mean, this one sure gets a lot less love, but there are a lot of people who love this movie as their favorite, just like I do. So it's interesting whenever, like, I put a poll up before I started this whole trilogy here, and I said, what's your favorite of the original trilogy? This is why I need fucking coffee. Night, Dawn, or Day. And no one picked Day. And I was so disappointed. And all of you, like all of you who voted, and none of you picked Day of the Dead, shame. For shame. And how they start making fun of Sarah by them saying like, oh, like when Rhodes says maybe you're in there, the scientists, and you guys are just all jerking each other off, and you guys aren't doing anything to help them in any situation. And then just that dickhead, and they were all dicks, the soldiers, like, yeah, we get it. But him just coming off saying that, like, at least she don't have to jerk off like the rest of us. She's got an honest to God dick to get her off, and they all start just like going crazy on her, and she walks away. And then he says, "I said we're not done here, lady Rhodes." And then she turns around, and he's like, "Sit down, or I'll have you shot." And then just when the music comes in, like, it just works so well, like, great. And I forget the actress's name here who plays Sarah, but she does a great job in this. Like, you never really hear that brought up. Just watching the rest of the scene play out just now kind of was making me wonder, like, I can't think of a lot of horror movies that are this tense just from arguing with, like, each other. Like, I really can't. Like, a lot of, like, tension and stuff comes from you don't know what's going to happen, like, in a, like, how, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you still, like, you don't know what's going to happen here the first time you see it, but it's not like there's a spooky ghost or something that could pop out, or, like, anything, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just from the tension of the argument and him just saying to shoot her. Then he tells Steele, like, shoot that woman. And he just goes, bang, you're dead and stuff. And Steele, we see, is a complete crazy person, too. But then as soon as Rhodes stands up, and points his gun at Steele and says, I said, shoot her, or I'll shoot you and you're dead. And then he, like, is freaked out by Rhodes. And it looks like it takes a lot for Steele to get freaked out by anybody. And Rhodes just really is that one type of person who can even shut Steele down. And he ends up just picking his gun up. And then she still isn't sitting down. I mean, like, good for her that she doesn't just immediately kiss his ass and, like, throw her ass down in the seat. She needs the count of 5. Like, she needs it. She waits until it hits 5. And then the Jamaican dude is just going, no, Sarah, sit down. That's how he sounds to me. But, oh, it's such a tense scene. Just from the music and just from the acting, and just, it works. It's just amazing. And then when Frankenstein just comes in here, after Rhodes says, like, we shouldn't have to do any of this. We don't have to sleep right next to those dumb fucks. We don't have to do any of these things. We should just shoot them all in the head. And then Frankenstein just walks in, and you could tell this guy's so far gone, and it's like, he don't care if he gets shot and killed right here on the spot. Like, but at least they listen. Like, he comes in, he takes control of the room for a bit, and saying, like, you can't shoot them all in the head. Like, time for that would have been at the very beginning here. Nope. Like, we're in the minority now. I'm like, just the way he comes in and takes over. Like, after seeing how, like, ferocious and insane that Rhodes is, this guy could have just easily been just killed as soon as he opened his mouth walking through into the room. But he's not. Like, he's able to at least take it down a little bit to, like, lower everyone's aggression and insanity, just to try to explain here, like, what's going on and what they can possibly do about it. And I think it's just still hilarious. He's just covered in blood always, like, on his clothes from all the research he's doing. He says 400,000 zombies to 1 human being. That's insane. Like, can you imagine those numbers? Like, that's absolutely crazy. That he completely has no idea what was just going on. Like, with the whole argument about to shoot Sarah dead and all that, he just comes and sits down and says, I haven't eaten. What do we got for food? I think that's so funny. And just the whole way that Frankenstein just shuts them all up, basically, and is the only person who can make them just listen. And barely, but at least listen. Like, when he's sitting there and he's saying, Rhodes is telling him you're supposed to be here at 7 o'clock sharp. And he's like, yeah, I couldn't break away. And he's like, excuse me. He's like, excuse me. Like, he just completely missed this whole craziness of how insane Rhodes is getting. But then after, like, Rhodes' threat that, like, what if they'll just leave and just leave the scientists and all them here and stuff just to be eaten. And then him just rebutting that. and saying like, all right, well, where are you gonna go? Like, are you gonna blow them all to bits? Like millions of them? Like you're lost unless then just like catches them, excuse me, with that little unless, just enough to catch his intrigue a little bit, just to say, all right, let's hear this insane scientist out. Like, all right, what are you talking about? I love how all of that's handled. Yeah, just that entire scene. Like, now that I'm thinking back on it, the whole scene taking place in that main room, which is from when Sarah comes in, and then he says to shoot her, and just all the way through to the end, is just brilliant. Like, it really is. And the guy who plays Frankenstein, forgot his name too. I don't really know any of the actors' names, like, from this movie, except for Pilato. But everything. And just the way, like, that Frankenstein is so nuts. And just, like I said, it's like 18 cups of coffee in the last 20 minutes. He's so hopped up on just his research and just trying to, like, get results to show these people. And none of them has to be here. Like, this is all put together, like Sarah says, in a few days. Like, this whole operation. So the soldiers don't want to be here. The scientists don't want to be here. Like, Sarah and them don't want to be here. Like, none of them meant to be here. And he's trying to say, like, it might take a few weeks, and then Sarah kicking in saying it could be months, it could be years, and him saying that she's looking for a cure to reverse the process, and that could take a very long time. Like, she might never find one, but he's working on a way to deal with like, what's going on, and to be able to domesticate them, control them, so they don't want to eat us. And that whole scene is just brilliant dialogue. And I know that Rhodes, like, Pilato's performance is over the top. Like, of course. But I can see it, like I was saying earlier. Like, I can definitely see someone like this. Like, is his acting amazing in this, Pilato? It's not amazing, no. It is over the top acting. But it just works for this movie. And it actually reminded me just now of Dave from, if you ever see this, when you're Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, and talking about how over the top Ricky is in that. And that is just terrible acting. But, like, it kind of works because of how over the top he is. This is nowhere near that. Like, but it's almost like that. It really does, like, remind me of that. That, like, guy's going a little over the top with the delivery of his lines, all of that. But it just works in here. And then and I like how after that you see how much, just seeing the zombie in the in the lab, when his guts spill out, how much that affected Sarah, because she has the dream of Miguel, like, leaning over from his bed and his guts spill out. Just that is cool too. Just how they show that just that little thing that she saw stuck in her mind for, like, the whole rest of the day. Or, I don't know, does this all take place in a day? Probably not, no. But whatever, like, when she saw it, that really stuck with her. To the point that she, like, had, like, a small little hallucination or dozed off for a minute or so and dreamt that Miguel's guts fell out of him. Like, it's so good. That's another reason why I'm pretty sure why this just works so well for me in the end, and why the, like, special effects just like, it leads up to all that so well. Like, you're not seeing anyone really getting killed by zombies, eaten, or anything like that. It's just all the tension is through just all these people here just not knowing what to do, and are so out of options, and that are so lost and scared and don't know what to do, that just when it finally gets near the last, like, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the coffee's helping, as you can tell. That when it gets to the end and we start seeing everyone getting torn apart, it just feels so much more powerful. It's just that much more effective, because we had to witness them slowly getting worse and worse as a group here, and not being able to communicate, and just all losing it. That when the zombies finally break in, it just works so much better with just all that tension leading up to it. And I love that. Like, oh, this movie's amazing. And again, can't say enough about the score either. Like when just the little scene of the two soldiers, I think it was Steele, and I'm not sure who he was fighting with, how they bust out of the door and they're beating the shit out of each other, and Sarah's walking down the same hallway, and then the drunk dude, I think Bill, right, his name is, he sees that, and then he immediately just walks past them and grabs Sarah and pulls her away and down the hallway and just lets them continue fighting. Just that little scene is great. Like, I love seeing that. And then him just saying, like, gives her, like, here, have this. I just made a refill, and I got another one, too. And she's like, I'm good. And he's like, it's just brandy. It's good for the heart. And then she takes a swig of it. I love that drunk dude. Now that I'm thinking about it, too, and trying to remember, when me and Alucard did our top 10 horror scores of all time, and we even had honorable mentions, I don't think I brought up Day of the Dead. And if I didn't, that's a crime against myself and humanity. So I feel really bad about that. Like, this score in this movie is so good that if I had to go back and redo that, it would be the same thing with Cannibal Holocaust. Like, he mentioned it, I remember, Al, you mentioned it as an honorable mention. And I was just thinking about that, like, a few days before. Like, when I was trying to think of my list. And I just forgot to put it as, like, an honorable mention. At this point, since I was, like, learned how to play it on guitar and arranged it and stuff, and I've listened to it, like, a decent amount, especially with Diodato, who just passed away. I rewatched Cannibal Holocaust, like, a few days after he died. I would put that theme from the score from Cannibal Holocaust, it would go from an honorable mention I forgot about to maybe in the top 5. Like, that's how high up it bumped, just for me listening to it a decent amount, like, in the last few months. Like, how often do you watch Cannibal Holocaust? Like, for me, I've seen it maybe 5, 6, 7 times in the past, and I know each time how brilliant that score is. But it's not something you remember. For me, at least. Like, it's like, yeah, it does have a great score. It's amazing. But then you kind of just forget it. Or at least that's what happened with me. Same with this. Like, this would crack the top 10 absolutely. And I just can't believe I forgot about to mention this, at least as an honorable mention for that. I love how the drunk dude Bill, his little trailer that he's in, it says the Ritz on the outside. That is so funny. Sarah says, not a bad idea. Not a bad idea indeed. Like, these guys know how it is. These guys know how to zombie apocalypse. You walk in, the Jamaican guy, I still don't know his name, whatever. But him and Bill in the Ritz here, and that they have a big poster up of the ocean, and, like, they decorated everything so it feels like they're on an island somewhere. That's the way to do it. Like, at least that brings the stress down even a tiny, tiny bit. Just, like, even if you can have those brief little, like, few seconds, even like a week, that you can forget the situation going on and you can feel like you're on an island having a drink or, like, smoking a joint or, like, something like that. Just a few seconds of feeling normality a little bit again and feeling that there is hope. Like, that it's not a completely hopeless situation, even though it is. But I love that. I completely forgot that they decorate it as much as they do here. Like, once she walked in, and I was looking around at the screen, they're looking around, and I'm looking at the screen, I'm like, I forget how much they dolled up this room, like, to make this look like they're chilling on an island. And it's a great idea. Like, if you throw Rhodes into this environment, like, give him a drink or something like that, give him a fucking few of them, like, at least, he might chillax for a little bit. He might calm down. Go right back to being the psychotic guy he is, yeah. But at least you can, like, take his mind off of things for a little bit. Maybe you wouldn't just be threatening to kill people, like, if they don't sit down in a chair. I don't know. They can learn something from this Jamaican. That's all I'm trying to say. And you can learn something from this Jamaican, because he's the most normal person out of this movie. I said it right from the beginning. He's the smartest dude. He's like, let's just forget all of this. Let's just get on this chopper and find an island until, like, it's just complete 100% hopeless and we're going to die. Right then and there. I agree with him 100%. And he's the only one here who is just like, I mean, Sarah is like trying to keep it civil, but she's stressed as shit. And you could see it in her eyes. You can see it in her face. All of that. This Jamaican dude is just like, he just just feels like he's just chilling in his basement the whole time. Like, it doesn't like seem like he's like bothered at all by this. And of course he is, but it's just the way I attribute it to this room. Like, if there is ever a zombie apocalypse, I am making whatever room that we end up in into like a jungle or some shit, and just living there and never leaving that room, and just feel like, all right, cool, I'm in the Amazon and stuff, and there's no zombies around, and there are no such thing as zombies. There's no Walking Dead around. Like, they're not trying to eat everybody. I'm just in the forest chilling. Like, chilling. Everything's normal. This guy, brilliant. Like, the most brilliant person in this movie. Like, out of all three of these movies, Jamaican. All right, like, this is a funny thought, but always listen to a Jamaican. Always. They're never wrong. Like, they're never wrong. If you ever have a Jamaican guy come up to you, and I keep saying, I hope this guy's Jamaican. I mean, he sounds like it. Like, spot on. Like, maybe he's like from Trinidad, but I know a Trinidad accent, actually. I used to work at a place that had 2 people from Trinidad. It's not that. But we're going with Jamaican. I don't care if he's not. Even if he's not, and the character's not even supposed to be, I'm still telling you, listen to a Jamaican person every time because they know what's going on. This whole thing with him telling Sarah, like, there's plenty more to do, and that kind of like hit me a little hard too, listening to that. But just his whole mentality here of just like, there is plenty more to do. Like, what you're trying to do, Sarah, is hopeless. Like, let's just, as long as it's you and him and her and like a few other people, start over, start fresh, have some babies, and like tell them to just never go anywhere near like what used to be civilization again, and just start completely over on an island. Always listen to Jamaican people. Like, always. They were never wrong. If they tell you to jump off a bridge, there is probably a 100% amazing reason to do it. And you should do it. Just jump off that bridge if a Jamaican tells you. So, you heard it here. If you ever get told to jump off a bridge or anything from a Jamaican person, make sure they're real Jamaican. Make sure they're not just like have like a dreadlock hat or something like that. Fake Jamaicans you don't want to listen to. Real ones, they're almost like messiahs. Like, really, it's like a very, very skinny version of Buddha. That she's listening to this guy. He's saying all the right things, and they should have left as soon as they got here. And yeah, I probably don't have to say this at 48 minutes into this video that this is going to be long, but I just looked at like the timer. There's an hour left in this movie. There's like an hour left. So this is going to be very long. And I pretty much predicted that. Like, Night and Dawn are both an hour or so, the videos I did on them. It's the Day of the Dead's my favorite. Like, this one's definitely going longer than that. So whoever's still watching, which I'm sure is like maybe 1 or 2 people, this is still going to be long. Like, a lot longer than right now. And I love the little line from Frankenstein here when he's trying to show Sarah, like when he finally is about to bring her with the other scientists to see Bub for the first time, and he's saying that they can be fooled, they can be tricked into being good little boys and girls, like they can be, you got to trick them with reward basically. And then the zombie knocks the table over or something like that, and he's like, that was not very nice, and he shuts the door. He's like, now you just sit here in the dark and think about what you've done. He's talking to a zombie. He has no idea what he's saying. But just the fact that he thinks that possibly that the zombie knows what he's saying, that's hysterical. Sit here in the dark and think about what you've done. And he's like, think. I love this character. And the scene here when it starts with Bub and everything, 2 cool little Easter eggs right before they get to Bub. You hear the music at the end of Dawn of the Dead. like that little jingle just for a little bit and goes right back into the Day of the Dead score. Great little touch there. Then when he's showing Bub like the razor and the toothbrush and saying that you remember from before, then on the table is a copy of Salem's Lot by Stephen King. That's a great little like Easter egg too. All right, I know I'm saying this about every scene, but that whole scene with Bub, brilliant. Like it really is. Just seeing him like try to shave and like he cuts his face too, and then like he like puts the blood in his mouth, and then like he opens the book and all of that, just showing that he remembers in some way, like all the stuff that he used to do before he turned into a zombie, and that they can be tamed like this. And the whole fact here that the zombies can be tamed and made civilized and not try to not be just beasts in the wild, as the Frankenstein says later, they, Bub is more civilized than the human beings here in this movie. Like if they actually were able to like do this on a large scale and domesticate these zombies, they'd probably be more peaceful of a society than what we see here in their little society in this bunker between the soldiers and everybody, which is wild just to think about that. And I love though how when he gives him the gun, I love how first of all how he salutes Rhodes, and Rhodes is like, "You want me to salute that piece of shit or pile of pus or something like that?" And then he picks the gun up after Sarek takes the bullets out. He picks it up and he gets angry, and he points it right at Rhodes. Like it's such great foreshadowing too for like what happens at the end of this movie. But that whole scene. And then, like, Rhodes is still like, oh, you want to teach him tricks? Like, how does that help us? The fact that he's so blind to this, then, like, how this could be good in any way, it just says so much about his character. I forgot where I even left off because I made another coffee. But I'm pretty sure this is where. But the whole thing, the last lines from Frankenstein, with him saying, like, civility has to be rewarded. Otherwise, there's just no use for it at all. And you can see how like visibly shaken up he is from just saying that. Awesome. And I do realize that like this video sucks. Like I'm just now starting to feel like woken up like from all this coffee. But like this is why I don't like doing videos, like missing days with videos, because then when I come back and do one, it's much longer than usual, and it's harder for me to get my thoughts out from like just I guess not thinking or analyzing as much as when I like do these videos. So apologies for the first 52 minutes of this. Let's move on a little better, shall we? But then again, I say that with all my videos. That is like, if like in the moment, like talking, it feels like a lot more. It feels like forever. Like when you're trying to like think of like formulate your thoughts. Then like I don't even watch my videos anymore. I just upload them. It's like whatever it was, fuck it. Like because I've learned from like when I first started, when I used to watch most of like a video before I put it up, just skimming through it, and every time when I would say like, I don't think this came out that good. I watched it. It's not like amazing, but it's like less bad than I thought it would be. So that's why I don't even look anymore. But this at 58 minutes into this movie, and this is why I say that like I know why people don't care for this one as much as the others, is like the first zombie like attack here. It's like the first real like zombie action going on in this movie. But it works up to it so well. And then we see them trying to pen the zombies again. And Miguel's thing that he's using, it cuts right through the zombie's neck and like the strap flies off. And she goes and just rips the throat out of one of the soldiers, and it looks fantastic. And then he's dying like that, and he shoots his gun off while he's getting eaten, like his throat got ripped out, and that kills one of the other soldiers, and Miguel just snaps. He's like, I didn't do it. Like this time, this had nothing to do with me. And he's just freaking out and starts trying to kill the zombie, and awesome. And then he gets his arm bit, and then they have to go and they have to slice his arm off. That whole scene is it's been building up to this, and the build just works so well. And even before that, before they have to cut his arm off, when the soldier who got his throat ripped out, and he's saying to Steele, like, please don't let this happen. Like, I don't want to be one of them. Like, please, like, kill me. Like, take me. And even Steele in that moment looks like it's not normal Steele that we've seen throughout this whole movie. They're just joking around dickhead that's just like a complete asshole to everybody. Like, you actually see like a small little sliver of humanity in him left. That like he's losing a friend here. Or at least like it's part of his whole little military crew here. And just seeing that kind of just brings that out a little bit. It makes it like, it cements what I was trying to say earlier. That who knows how these people were before they were down here. And just seeing that sliver of emotion in Steele, that like he sees what he has to do. That his friend is dying here. He doesn't want to become a zombie. Now he has to shoot him in the head. And even that looks amazing when they shoot him in the head. And his head flies back and then like the blood's just dripping out of it. Awesome. Then I know I'm pretty sure Romero said, or somebody did, maybe it was Savini, that the first take of cutting Miguel's arm off just didn't look real enough. Like it looked too much like an effect and they had to redo it. But it looks awesome here. Like it really does. Like just with the big ass machete and just cutting his arm off where he got bitten and then just cauterizing it and everything. It's such a great effect. It's such a great effect. It looks so good. And I wonder though how, I guess maybe through like the research and stuff, that they knew that this would be able to stop him from being infected by cutting that part of him off that was bitten. I mean, obviously the guy before this, like they can't just cut from here up and save him. He's dead. But like I wonder where they figured that out. Because we see that in so many zombie movies nowadays and over the decades and stuff. I wonder where they figured that out, or if they just took a chance. Like maybe they didn't know. Maybe I forget. Like maybe they mention it. I don't remember it. But maybe it's just a shot in the dark. I'm just like, all right, he got bit on the arm. Let's chop it off. It works like an infection, and hope for the best. That's what I'm gonna go with because they don't mention anything about knowing that'll work. And let's not forget, Steele's a complete racist. Like also, like completely. Just the way through this whole movie of him calling Miguel a spick and yellow and everything like that. Disgusting human behavior. That was from before. Like a situation like this, even a zombie apocalypse is not going to make you from a non-racist person to a complete racist pile of shit. Like it's not. Like that was in him the whole time. But him just, again, blaming Miguel for this. And we see what happens. Like, we saw what happened here. Miguel had nothing to do with it. And that's why he acted out like that. And said, like, I didn't do it. I didn't do it because he knew that Steele was going to blame him. And kill him, possibly. Like, pretty damn sure that he was getting killed. And he snapped because of it. And then this whole standoff between them. And I still don't believe they haven't said the hopefully Jamaican's name. But he's a prophet. And you should listen to everything he says. But as soon as Steele comes running and saying that, like, it's his fault, which we know it's not, saying that we have to put him down, and her arguing and standing in front of his body with the torch and saying, like, I got to the infection in time. So they say that they got to the infection, but they never say how they found that out. So I'm just assuming it's from, Logan's research, from Frankenstein's research. And just the way that Jamaican prophet and drunk dude and just pull guns on them. Like when Rhodes shows up too and the other guy, they all just pull their guns. And he's like, we just lost 2 men there. And then the Jamaican prophet, like always, with words of wisdom, says like, well, we just evened the odds a little bit, and I can't do a Jamaican accent if you haven't been able to tell. But that's a tense scene too. Like there's so much tension throughout this movie. That even like just full-on zombie movies that it's just blood and guts everywhere and zombies eating people all over the place and stuff, it doesn't come close to the tension of this movie for me, like at all. It's a slow burn zombie film, and it like I said, it just builds and builds and builds until we finally just get the finale, and then we just see everything break loose. And it's like that with all of Romero's movies. Like, at least in the first trilogy, I don't remember Land or Diary or what was Survival. I don't remember them, like, at all. So, like, those are going to be fun rewatches. I don't know if I'm doing them right. Like, the next ones that I'm doing will be those. I kind of like want to move away from Romero for a little bit. Because it's like, you can just talk about Romero and his zombie stuff forever. But just the tension and the way this movie builds is so good. And the same in Dawn. Like, you see more going on throughout it, but there's always a big zombie eating finale, like in Romero's films. But the tension this movie has compared to Dawn and Night for me is just like astronomically higher for me than it is in the other movies. Like, it's just the perfect amount of tension, the perfect amount of pacing, and all of that is just fantastic. And that's why this is one of my favorite zombie movies of all time. It's not my favorite. I'm saving that one. But it's definitely in the top three, like 100%. And I've always been very shocked and surprised from the first time I saw this movie, and every time afterwards, that Rhodes doesn't just flat out kill Miguel. Like, I'm still shocked every time I watch this, after seeing how he is through this whole movie so far, that he doesn't just blast Miguel in the face and just mow Sarah down and all of them. Like, that he doesn't just have all, like, steal him and the other guy. Is that Rickles? I don't remember. Just don't just kill them all. Like, he was willing to shoot Sarah dead or kill Steele if he didn't shoot her dead way earlier than now. But now when a zombie has bitten this person and they cut his arm off and cauterize the wound. There's no wounds. There's one wound. One wound indeed, just on the arm. But the fact that he's been bitten, and it is a big chance to take. Like, it's a huge risk. He just lets them live, which is, like, really against his character. Like, that's one thing maybe I can pick apart with this, is that, like, it's a little unbelievable that he would do that. That he would let that risk be, like, live. And I know they say they're going to keep him out with them and everything like that in Paradise Island in the Ritz. So it's not the worst place to die or turn into a zombie, but just the whole fact that he doesn't kill all of them right there, just to make sure that, like, to make damn 100% sure that they're not in danger of having them turn. Like, I don't know. I just find it so hard to picture and believe that Rhodes would actually, like, do that. That he wouldn't just take this into his own hands, like we know he will do from this whole movie. This is like the most human thing that he does in this movie, is like not kill Miguel right then and there. So I don't know. I don't know what to think of that still to this day. Like, I don't know why he takes that chance, but he does. And it kind of fucks him. Like, in the end, like, it really kind of does. But that's their whole plan now, is they're saying, we're going up there tomorrow and we're just going to kill every single last one of these zombies. And she knows that Miguel's going to die, or that he's going to turn. Like, she knows that. But just the way that she bargains for his life adds so much tension, too, to that scene. Like, this whole movie is just fucking perfection for me. Except for that whole little thing I just said about Rhodes and, like, how against his character it is for him to just let that go. What a great scene, too. Like, every scene in this movie, man, I'm going to keep saying it, just to hammer the shit out of it, is just brilliant. Like, when they find Frankenstein, they go into his lab, or this is like a different lab, like his real secret lab, and they see, like, I don't even know what to call it. Like, it looks like half alien, half zombie, and like, it's just like this deformed-looking creature, like, that he's been experimenting on. And then the drunk dude, and I love also how they don't hammer the hell out of it in this movie, like, make him like a huge stereotype. Like, yeah, we see him like drunk, like a decent amount. We see him drinking and stuff, but it's not like he has a flask in hand the whole movie, and like, it's like, we get it, he's drunk, like, you know, like, they don't do that, which I like. But then we hear him play the tape, And we hear just how crazy Frankenstein's gotten. Like, this guy's lost his mind, and he's like talking to these creatures like they're his mom and dad, and like screaming at them to be civilized. And you can just hear just how insane he's gotten, which they had no idea. Which I don't know why they didn't just assume that. Look at how everybody else is. Everyone else is going insane too. This guy should be the most insane out of all of them. And then they pull the tarp off, and there's just the soldier's head with the electrodes on it. It's just a severed head, and his mouth's moving. That looks so good. The effects for that look amazing. And then the drunk dude, I guess the Jamaican prophet, his words are like really rubbing off on Bill here, because he's like, let's get out of here. Like, we got to get out of here. Like, I think we should take that chopper before someone else does. Smart, man. And I attribute that all to the Ritz and the nice little island room, and of course, again, the Jamaican people. Oh man. And then the whole scene when they go and see Logan with Bub again, and he plays the music, he's got the headphones on, and he's like, oh, tomorrow we'll play with these toys again. And then he gives them the bucket, and for his reward, like he's been saying throughout this, we need to reward them. And then Rhodes comes in with Steele and Rickles and stuff, and pretty sure it's Rickles. I keep saying Rickles. I'm pretty sure that's who it is. I just know there's a guy named Rickles, and he's kind of like the third in command. But there's another one, Torres, and they kind of look the same, so like, I don't know. But they come in, and they see him, like, Bub eating out of his bucket. And they look at Logan's hands, and what are you giving him and stuff. They open the freezer, and it's all of like the dead soldiers, and he loses it, Rhodes, and then he just machine guns the shit out of Logan and just kills him on the spot. And he's like, grab Fisher's gun, and then no, Rhodes is like, no, all their guns. And he's like, take them all. He loses it, man. And then Jamaican dude who's just chilling there, and he's like, no, like, give us everything. And he doesn't want to stand down, but he finally puts his gun down, and they have to give up all their weapons. Just knowing now, like, just like knowing where this ends, that's gotta suck. I mean, yeah, as soon as the soldiers start getting eaten and stuff like that, you just take their weapons back. So it's not like they're really like fucked here, but just the mental, like the thoughts there of like, now we have no protection, like in case something does happen. That's gotta be terrifying in that moment. Like, it really does. Oh, yeah, that's right. An hour ago at the beginning of this video, I remember them calling Flyboy. Like, I for some reason thought Bill, the drunk dude, like his nickname was Flyboy, remembering it, like from Dawn, how they reference it. But the Jamaican dude is Flyboy. And the other guy's just Bill. So that makes more sense. Like, that this guy has a name. I was like, how are we an hour into this movie and I haven't heard this Jamaican dude's name? So that is Flyboy, what do they call him? But Bill was flying at the beginning of the movie, the helicopter. So that's why I guess I messed that up. But yeah, our mistake now corrected. So we have Jamaican Flyboy here. And then they just take his machete too, and like, they want everything from these people. And I love here too how Flyboy, we got it now, how he just is so dedicated, devoted to these people, to Sarah and Bill and everything, that he'll give his life before he sees them hurt. And just the way that Rhodes shoves Sarah and Bill in the pen, and have these zombies that are just coming out of the caves and stuff like that at them, and they're saying like, everyone can fit in the helicopter, and that Rhodes and his men are leaving now with Flyboy, and that's it. And he just will not have it. He's like, you can kill me before I fly if you don't let them out. And he knows he holds all the cards here. Like, he knows he does. And you see that, if you didn't already, you see that as soon as he tries reaching for one of the soldiers' guns, and Rhodes immediately says like, don't shoot him. Like we need him. Like, we need his ass to fly. Yeah, so he owes all the cards here, Flyboy. So they gotta listen to him. And then we see Miguel get up with his arm missing, and all of this is just fantastic. But then again, it does make me think, these are all military people, right? None of them know how to fly. Like, I get it. Like, everyone has different tasks and stuff in the military. Like, I'm not a military guy. Never really had any interest in that. So, I get it. But, like, none of them know how to fly? Or can even just, like, try? Like, to just try to, all right, how different can this be from a boat or something? Or a car? Like, I'm sure we can figure it out if we really want off this island. I mean, off this, wherever they are, out of this bunker, and to get to an island or something. They can't try? Or none of them know? I mean, we do know that there's less soldiers now. Like, there's like much less than they started with. But out of all the ones that they had, no one knew how to fly a helicopter? It's possible completely, but I don't know, just a little nitpick. And then Sarah and Bill are in the cave with the zombies trying to survive, and we get such a great scene, man, when he takes the shovel, and this is 85. Reanimator's 85, because it reminds me just of Reanimator. Like when he takes the shovel and puts it down on him, but this is like in the middle of his face, so like half his face just gets cut off, and then when they're walking away, you could see the eyes moving, which kind of reminds me of Hatchet 2? I want to say Hatchet 2, when Trent gets his face just like curb stomped on the table by Victor Crowley, and like you see his eyes move. That reminds me of this, like the way that head moves. But the shovel kill and stuff for the zombie looks just like in Reanimator. Like when Wes takes why can't I think of the dickhead surgeon's name? But you know what I mean. When he like, it's the same exact kill, but it looks fantastic here. It looks fantastic there. Like, absolutely good. Then we know that Miguel basically is what lets all these things inside. And now we just have the craziest, just smorgasbord of effects work that just ends this movie in the last 20 minutes or so. This is just, I can't wait to watch this. I always just wait to the end of this movie, and just the build, like I keep saying, that to get to this point. Awesome. Like, oh, this is going to be great. Such a tiny thing too, but I love how when Flyboy goes in to try to, save Sarah and Bill, that he's like, a bat just flies by real fast and like shrieks, and he's like not even, like, doesn't even flinch. Like, not at all. Like, of all the stuff there is to worry about, a bat is not up on that list. So he sees all these zombies and stuff like that, and all this craziness just with the humans, human beings here, and everything that they're doing that's crazy. Bat flies right by, doesn't even flinch. And now we see Bill like really like hitting that flash card, but who wouldn't? I mean, even someone who's never drank in their life in this situation, when you're put in a pen and then forced into these caves that has all the Walking Dead in it, that is the time, if any time, to pick up your first drink and just get plastered with whatever time you have left. And Miguel's death is so sad, man. Like, we see the necklace he's wearing come into play a few times here. I'm assuming that it's from Sarah. Like, I don't know for sure, but it seems like that's the focus on it, and that he holds it dear to him. I mean, it could be from a family member or parents, who knows. But like, Rhodes comes in and like, what the hell happened? And Steele's saying like he ripped all the controls out, and he thinks at first he's like he tried making a run for it. No, man, he went up there, unlocked those gates, and just had them all come, and he lays on the elevator, and just, it's such a sad death, just seeing him, his throat get ripped out, and they're eating off his chest and stuff, and then he just pushes the button, and it all comes down with all these zombies, and they know that they are fucked. Like, they know they're screwed. And there's one, and I love how there's all different ones. How, like, there's one with a football helmet on, and there's a clown one, like, and isn't that clown, do we see that in Dawn? Like, I don't know why that looks so familiar. I think that's possible. I don't want to say for sure, but I know we've seen that clown zombie, haven't we? Like, it's not in this movie. I don't know, but the clown just looks so familiar. But, and we have Bub at the same time. I mean, it's a little coincidental that right when Miguel is bringing all these zombies down into this facility, in this bunker that Bub happens to like get loose to at the same time. It's a little convenient, but this is just the effects work through all of this, and then Bub seeing Frankenstein, just his dead body, and then now he's out for vengeance. He's like, you killed like my best friend here. You killed like my supplier of soldier food, and he's just ready. He wants Rhodes dead, and it leads up to it brilliantly. Oh, how good it looked when they're ripping that guy's head off. And I love this effect so much. When they're ripping his head off and it's slowly being torn, and then he's screaming, and then just the vocal cords, because they're being ripped, the pitch changes. Like, that is so effective. That looks so unreal. Like, unbelievable. Like, I love that effect so much. And then the other soldier, he's just having a grand old time. He lost his mind completely. Like, there's no saving this person's mind, or him in general. But he's just laughing like a maniac, and he just like, ha ha ha, and he just like walks off the screen, and then we just see him get dragged down, and they rip his eye gets gouged out, and so cool. Like, I can't say enough about the effects here. Like, I really can't. Like, it's just Savini's magnum opus, like I said. Like, this just is unreal. The amount of time that must have been put into this to just get all these effects and the makeup for the zombies, all of that is just unbelievable that they were able to pull this off. Even, so just imagining what they could have done with double the budget, what they were supposed to have, I would kill to see that. I really would. But just working with the budget they had and being able to do all this, it's like almost impossible, but it happened. Like, it's just too much. Like, it's too much greatness at the end here and through this whole movie. But this whole finale is just amazing. Like, it's in my top 10 endings to a movie, like last 15-20 minutes. Same with City of the Living Dead from Fulci, and the way that all ends in the crypt and stuff that they go down. Same thing here. And Rhodes just shows his true colors in case anybody missed it. How this guy is through the whole movie. He just like shuts himself into a room and doesn't let Steele in, doesn't let anybody. And Steele is not becoming one of these. He's not being torn apart either. And this is exactly what I would do in this situation. If I saw there was no way out of this, and that there's a whole bunch of these zombies coming right for you, and that looks amazing. And he does get bit before it happens, but he knows what's going to happen. Like, even he doesn't have enough time to turn. Like, he's just going to be eaten apart. And the way that some of these zombies hit the floor immediately, like as soon as they're shot in the head, these extras and stuff just like, and just hit the ground. It looks so good. It looks so realistic. And then just when he blows his brains out, you wanted to see this through the whole movie. And then that's why Rhodes' death just works so brilliantly, and it's just one of the coolest death scenes in a movie for me. Like, it just keeps building and building, and all these effects work. It's like, how do you not love this movie? Like, how is this not talked about as people's favorite in this trilogy more? Like I say, I know people who this is their favorite one, and Romero said the same thing. And I mean, that's obviously, you can't go by a director's feelings on their own work all the time. I mean, I love Cat o' Nine Tails by Argento, and he cites that a few times throughout his career. That's his least favorite film. I don't know why. I mean, I love Cat o' Nine Tails, but just hearing that Romero, this was his favorite, and then just the people that I do know and that I do see this movie get so much love. It should get so much more. Like, I don't know, for me, like, I don't know how anyone could like Night and Dawn more than this movie. Like, I can see it, obviously, but like when I'm really like thinking about it, it's like, how? Like, just, and I'm huge with practical effects, and I just love seeing effects work done. So I know that plays a huge part of it. because the effects in this just blow the other two movies away, like in every way, shape, or form, like 100%. I just don't see how anyone can't have this as number one. Like, I really can't, man. It's too good. It's too good. It's coming right here. We got Rhodes running down the hallway. We got Bub with the gun. I can't wait to just look at this. Like, and he shoots him too. Like, because he knows how to use a gun, Bub. And he shoots him. And then just, he thinks he's getting out of there, like, through the doors. And then just, I can't wait. It's like seconds away. I'm like a kid in a toy store. All right, I gotta do this while it's happening. When he opens the door and all the hands reach out, and then Bub shoots him, and he gives mockingly the salute, and then he just gets brought to the ground right here. And just the way that it looks, and you know how they did it. Like, obviously, like, anytime you see people ripped in half or something like that, like, it's always a hole in the ground. But oh, I love it. Oh, and that how they just rip him apart and it all comes out, and then they drag his bottom half away. Then the choke on. I'm 100% that was improvised, right? I'm pretty sure I'm guaranteeing it. I remember hearing it somewhere, either from Pilato or in an interview with Romero or something. But those choke on him, like, lines were improvised by Pilato, and it just adds so much to it. I mean, would he be screaming that, like, while he's being ripped apart in real life? Like, probably not, but it adds so much to that scene, and just, oh God, it looks so good, man. Like, it's, like I said, one of my favorite death scenes in a horror film. It just looks unbelievable, and they use the real fucking intestine from animals and all that. And I know that Pilato has said that he was in that hole because someone, like, unplugged the fridge or something like that they were keeping it in, so it's spoiled, and, like, the stench and smell that he had to smell while he was in that hole, he said he could still remember it to this day. Like, he still can smell it to this day. That's how putrid and stuff all of that smelt. But and this is why I say often that even if I don't care for a movie much, but I see someone else who loves it and they're talking about it with such, like, glee and passion and, like, just excitement, that's enough. That I'm just happy to see somebody else enjoying what they do, like what they enjoy. And I don't give a shit how this video came out. I really don't. Just being able to watch this movie right now, after wanting to watch it for a week or so now, and being able to, and you could tell if you go and haven't watched any of them, like any bit of my Night or Dawn videos, you could tell instantly that this movie just means so much more to me than Dawn or Night ever will. Like, really, like, you could tell immediately. Because it's just, it just gets me in such a mood, man. It's brilliant. And then they book it out of there. Sarah Flyboy, the Jamaican prophet. That sounds so ridiculous when I say it like that. And Bill, they just run off to the helicopter, and they're going to make their way to this island. Man, like, I got goosebumps. And like, I could feel during watching the end of that, I just feel the hair just standing up on my body. Like, just the most amazing feeling watching this movie. Like, this movie is just a masterpiece. And, like, just, especially in the zombie genre. Like, this is just an absolute perfect zombie movie. It's not my favorite. Like I said, I got one movie pretty much that I can think of that tops it. Like, I know it does. But if we're talking, like, traditional type zombies, like this type of zombie movie, like the slow walking, and, like, your classic Romero invented zombie, number one. Like, the best zombie film. Like, for me. Like, 100%. There is one, though, that's not your real traditional zombie, and it's very different, that tops this. For some reason, I mean, I don't know. I'll talk about it in that video. But they get to the island, and then doing what they could have been doing, like, before all of this happens. If they listened to Flyboy the Prophet Jamaican, then they would have been at this island and fishing and shit like that already, like days ago. And I know there's a whole theory and like thing with the calendar, because we see her marking off like it's like the 4th of November, and we've been seeing the calendar, like especially at the very beginning of the movie when she has that dream in the helicopter. And I've heard people say that it's a dream, this whole movie is a dream, or she died and this is what she's thinking. Like, I don't care about any of that. I really don't give a shit. I heard it once 15 years ago or so, never listened to it again. I don't care. Like, whatever that whole thing with the calendar, it does not matter. And then when they get to this island, just like I said earlier, like, it's like arriving at the island from Fulci's Zombie. And what a movie. Like, I'm so happy just to be that I just watched this. That I really don't care. Like, all stumbling over my thoughts and stuff, because that's how I get when I get excited. And this movie just excites the shit out of me, because it's an absolute masterpiece. And just an absolute masterpiece in every regard, but especially with the effects. Like, Savini's crowning achievement in his whole career is this movie for me. And this movie is just exceptional in every way. But let's end it there. And speaking of Goosebumps, when I said earlier, then I'm going to try later tonight, because I will be on Mike's the Real Fifth Beatle channel on a stream in an hour and a half at 7 Eastern Standard. I hope that's right. And I asked him like before this. I'm pretty sure it's 7, yeah. But first time, I'm nervous. I'm like a lamp in his room, I always say. But we will have a stream on his channel. I don't even know what we're talking about, but whatever. We always figure it out. And hopefully have a watch party for some type of Friday the 13th movie. I don't know which one, but I put it together and like tried to put it together like last night and figure it out. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't matter. I've seen Friday enough times, the whole series of my life, since I'm like 6 years old. Doesn't matter if I miss watching anything Friday related on Friday the 13th. But I should have said this at the beginning. Happy Friday the 13th to everybody, but happy Friday the 13th. And everyone, I hope you're having a good morning or afternoon or night, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.